Hi, this is Steve Scott, the Houston Business Coach, and thank you for joining me. Confidence, self-confidence, it's so critical to our success in business and in life. And there was a businessman, and his business had come upon hard times. And, he couldn't pay his creditors, he had to let go of employees, things weren't good. And one day he went to a park in New York City, and he just sat there on a bench, and this old man came over to him and said, "Son, I see that you're troubled." He said, "What's the problem?" And the man told him all his woes and everything else. And the fellow said, "Look, I can help you out. Here's a check for $500,000. So the man wrote out a check for $500,000, and it was signed John D. Rockefeller, one of the wealthiest men in the world. And the business owner looked up at him and said, "Well, thank you very much." And the man said, "What I'm going to do is I'll meet you back here a year from today, and you can pay me back." So anyway, the businessman went off. And he was feeling good. He just had so much confidence, and he decided, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that check in the safe. I'm not going to cash it. And he went out, and he started getting better terms from his vendors. He started making big sales. Cash flow started picking up. Everything started getting better. And he was so grateful. Matter of fact, business had never been so good. And everything he approached, he just said, I'm going to be successful. Because he knew he had that $500,000 sitting behind him. So anyway, now it's a year later. He goes back to the park, and he waits for the old man. The old man doesn't show up, but he decides to wait a little longer. And he sees him coming up, and he's kind of shuffling and not walking quite the way he used to. And just as he engages the man to say thank you, a nurse comes up and says, "I'm so glad you caught him. He always escapes from the rest home." The man says, "Well, I really want to talk to him." And she said, "Well, he just goes around believing he's John D. Rockefeller, but that's not who he is." And so anyway, the nurse turned and left with the man. The businessman was just stunned. Because all along, here's what's interesting. He'd believed that he had the wisdom and the wealth of John D. Rockefeller behind him, and he really hadn't. But the power of belief is such an awesome power. And it gave him the self-confidence to act as though he could not fail. And that's what confidence does. You have a vision of the future, of what success is like, but you have to act as though you cannot fail. Believe you succeed, and you will. As Napoleon Hill once said, what the mind can conceive and believe, it can't achieve. If you can conceive it and believe it with confidence now, you will achieve it. This is Steve Scott, the Houston Business Coach, and thank you for joining me.